So if you are comfortable with the idea, let's now just play with a few examples. Over and over, each idea will get repeated in various scenarios till we get comfortable with this. At least the basic process of grouping or the cycle or that a remainder problem contains a hidden remainder problem. And just to revise one more key idea from the earlier session, the idea of remainder of minus 1, because a lot of time you will not be able to get to a 1, but getting to minus 1 may prove to be as useful as getting to a 1. So why? Because look at this number 16 raised to 4, make it bigger for yourself, make it even bigger for yourself. 16 raised to 480 divided by 17, what is the remainder? Once again, understand that it is a lot of 16s, and think of each 16. You could have gone for the calculation that okay, this is the remainder of 16 and this is the remainder of 16, and the new remainder would be 16 into 16 divided by 17. Not too much of a problem, don't shy away from it. But I can also think of the remainder as minus 1, because what does 16 mean? 16 is 1 behind the next multiple of 17. You said 16 is the remainder, that means 0, and 16 is 16 ahead of the previous multiple of 17 starting with 0. Other way of thinking was the remainder is minus 1. That means if you add one more number to 16, you will get to a multiple of 17. That means this number is 1 short, therefore minus 1 of the next multiple of 17. Again, the idea having been covered in the previous video, right? So not going into too much detail. If you get this idea of remainder of minus 1, life would be very, very easy. The second 16 will also give you a remainder of minus 1. The next 16 will also give you a remainder of minus 1. And even the last 16 will give you a remainder of minus 1. So what will you have? You will have minus 1 into minus 1 into minus 1. How many times? You will have it 480 times, because those many 16s were there. Now the question becomes, a negative number raised to an even power will give you a positive number. That means the result is simply going to be 1. Why is that? Why is a negative number raised to an even power gives you 1? Very simply, if you take minus 2 into minus 2, you get plus 4. If you go minus 2 into minus 2, let me put them in bracket, into minus 2, you get minus 8. So you saw when even number of times, when a negative number is multiplied even number of times, you get a positive number. When it is odd, you get a negative number. In this case, it was even, so we got a positive number, and it was just 1 multiplied by itself a lot of times, so the result was only 1. The trick would be different if it was 481. That means this 4 minus 1 raised to 481. That means odd number of times the number is being multiplied. So the result would have been minus 1. Now you will have to once again interpret this minus 1 back in terms of remainders of 17. What does minus 1 mean? It is 1 short of a multiple of 17. So if you think of 34, it is 1 short of a multiple of 17, which is 34. So you are thinking of 33, but it is 16 ahead of the previous multiple, right? So 1 short of the next multiple is the same as saying 16 ahead of the previous multiple, or you can simply do 17 minus 1 and you will get 16 as your answer. But do not try and memorize, try and understand the logic involved. It will help you long term. So in this case, my answer would be minus 1, or the remainder would be 16, right? So just to revise the idea of the negative remainder, and now let's play with even more questions where we also use negative remainder, remainder of 1, where we group or go for cycle of things or try and find the cycle, right? So just a few more practice questions. So let's try one more question, and we get to play with the same idea over and over again. Question is 58 raised to 75 divided by 11. What is the remainder? So first of all, basic step would be knowing that this is nothing but 58 into 58 into 58 a lot of times. How many times? 75 times. And each of them is being divided by 11. Now I can go for each remainder. So the remainder 58 divided by 11, 11 5s are 55, remainder would be 3. Now I could have straight away gone and said my new problem is 3 raised to 75 divided by 11 and played with that, but let's just stick to 58 only. So if I go for 58, my remainder is 11. Let me start thinking of the cycle process once again. 58 raised to 1 divided by 11 gives you a remainder of 3. 58 raised to 2 divided by 11. Now 58 raised to 2, even calculating will be cumbersome. So just start with this 3 and multiply it by just start with this 3, and you know the other 58 is also going to give you a 3. So 3 into 3 you will get the remainder as 9. This is giving you a 3. This is giving you a 3. So if you think of both of them, 3 into 3, the remainder would become 9, right? So when 58 raised to 1, first remainder is 3, the second remainder is 9. It is still smaller than 11, so I don't have to worry about it. Let's go to the next step. This is again going to give me a remainder of 3, and 9 into 3, my overall remainder now becomes 27. But my remainder can't be bigger than my divisor, so this 27 should be immediately divided. 11 2s are 22 and my remainder is 5. That means once I go to the third 58, when I go for 58 cube divided by 11, my remainder is 5. Still no 1, still no minus 1. Let me go to the next 58 and see what happens. I am at 5. This will bring another 3. 5 3s are 15. 15 divided by 11, once again the remainder would be 4, right? Not once again, the remainder now would be 4. So if I go to 58 raised to 4 divided by 11, my remainder was 5. Just multiply it to another 3, you get 15. 15 divided by 11 again, the remainder would be 4, right? Still no luck, but if you think of just one more 58, a little bit of extra work, you have another remainder of 3. We've already worked out 4. When you go to 58 raised to 5, 4 into 3 will give you a remainder of 12, which again divided by 11 or subtracting 11 will give you a remainder of 1. Once you reach 1, you know the next one once again is going to be a remainder of 3. So you don't need to work this cycle out. So you know the remainders are, first remainder is 3, the second step is 9, then 5, then 4 and then 1. Our question was 58 raised to 75 divided by 11, what is the remainder, right? 75, and we are thinking of a cycle of 5, right? 3, 9, 5, 4, 1, 5 separate remainders. So this 58 raised to 75, so this 75 number is going to fall on the fifth term of the cycle because it is a multiple of 5. You will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 75 will end up here, so you will get a remainder of 1, right? Or you say, if you remember from cyclicity, take the number, divide by 5. When the remainder is 0, that means the remainder is also 5, or the fifth step of the cycle. In the cyclicity cases, we were dividing it by 4, and when the remainder was 0, we were saying the power should be 4. So the same idea involved here, right? So, but if cyclicity is not your cup of tea, try and understand that once you have 58 raised to 5, your remainder is 1. That means, can I take this 58 raised to 75 and write it in terms of 58 raised to 5? Yes, it should be fairly easy, and guessing this also would be fairly easy. 5 into something gives you 75. What is that something? 15. That means this question now is 58 raised to 5 divided by 11. You know each 58 raised to 5 gives you a remainder of 1. Is there anything left over? Any remainder from the grouping process? what you are trying to do is take 75 and make it into groups of 5, right? The group size is 5. How many groups can you form? Sometimes, in a couple of previous examples, something was left over. So this would be one, I mean, between all of what we have done will be most of the scenarios falling for the remainders questions, and we get a good thorough grounding of the process involved. And what is the basic idea? The fundamental idea is what is happening to the remainders is the same as what is happening to the dividends, and then a couple of other ideas of cyclicality. Why? Because cyclicality is inherent in the indices system by itself. Numbers have a repeating pattern, as we saw in trying to find the last digit questions also, right? So I hope this is not too much, and this is it for the day. So we get the core idea, we get introduced to the method, we have seen the various scenarios, try it out a couple of times, try out a few questions till you get comfortable with the method in your own languages, whatever way you want to go for it. You want to think of it as a cycle, or you want to rewrite the indices in the forms, whatever is comfortable. So get the basic idea, and now in the next video we'll try and solve more practice questions. So we'll assume that we know the method, and as we do those practice questions also, each time the method will get repeated, the logic will get mentioned, and each question will bring in something new. So this is it for the day. See you soon.